This is Gary Johnson with BlackMenInAmerica.com. I've got my ace boon coon, CJ, with us here. And we have a special guest today who is just taking social media by storm with his viral video. We have Mr. Billy D. Washington with us. And for those of you who have not seen this video, I want you to work with me. I'm going to show you the video and you be the judge. Let's take a look here at the video that has caused people to talk and tails to wag. Let's go. Let's see if we can get it going here. All right, now why can't I do this? All right, let's see. If not, we're gonna have to just do a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and here we go.
Trump is gone. 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 I don't need no other words to this song. But Trump is gone. Trump is gone. Oh, yes, he is. Trump is gone. 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 I don't need no other words to this song. But Trump is gone. Trump is gone. One thing I'm gonna tell you. Come on, y'all. Hence is gone. Hence is gone. Yes, hence is gone. Hence is gone. Oh, hence is gone. Hence is gone. Hence is gone. Hence is gone. Thanks, y'all. I don't need no other words in this song. Hence is gone. Hence is gone. Hence is gone. Now we'll have our announcement. I bring you greetings from the White House. Say a word, Tommy, say a word. Tell Paula White, Trump is gone. Tell Bob Johnson, oh, Trump is gone. Somebody tell Kanye, oh, that Trump is gone. Tell Diamond and Silk, that Trump is gone. Yes, he is. Tell Ben Carson, Trump is gone. Let's go. Come on here. Wait. Watch your boy stop. Trump is gone. Yes, he is. Trump is gone. Trump is gone. Yeah, we bye-bye. Trump is gone. Trump is gone. After the way go, yeah. Trump is gone. I don't need no other word in this song. Sing, the Trump is gone. Tell Donald Trump to go. Trump is gone. Him and his toothpaste and them bye-bye. Trump is gone. Trump is gone. Somebody go ahead and peel that orange up out the door. We don't want to see it no more. That I don't need no other word in this song. The Trump is gone. Ain't no lie. He's gone. Bye, bye, bye. Yeah, make way about it.
Whoa. All right.
Yeah, man.
just how did that come to play? Just talk to us about how did that come to play? I recognize some of the players, but I know you're going to give them your own shout out. So I'll turn it over to you, Billy.
Well, what happened is a couple of months before the election, and first of all, thanks for having me on, Gary. I appreciate it.
Our
Uh,
pleasure.
a couple of months before the election, I was speaking to my parents, and my parents have always been like huge civil rights advocates. I mean, we used to have meetings in our living room when I was a kid. My mom was the secretary, and so I've been, I grew up in a political environment. So a few months before the election, my parents were upset because they thought that Trump was going to win. They called me up. They was like, Billy, he gonna win because you remember he started rising in the polls, and the base was reinfused, and so I got try to convince him as much as I could that I thought that we were going to be okay, even though I didn't know. But just to cheer them up, dude, I got on my piano and I set up my camera, and I just wanted to play them some old church music, just the piano because they like to hear me play it, and send it to him as a video. So as I started playing it, I just came up with the hook just like spontaneously. Trump is gone. And then as I was trying to think of some words in my head, I said, I don't need no other words to this song. Trump is gone. So so I did it, sent it to them. They got a big kick out of it. They loved it. It hit me back. Billy, we've listened to this thing 40 times now. That was a few months prior to. So fast forward a couple of months later, I'm in Indianapolis doing a comedy club, watching election coverage and whatever. So I'm in bed when Wolf Blitzer announced that it's safe to say that they can safely predict that Joe Biden was going to be president elect. So I'm really emotional, right? Just like feeling the weight of the moment, man. Just feeling like this 800-pound gorilla was off my back. And my dad called me, and I thought he was just calling me for the election. He's like, Billy, have you heard? I was like, yeah, I've heard. He's like, hey, man, you got to send that song out because that song is going to be a hit. And I was like, Pop, I don't nobody want to listen to this song. He's like, man, send that song out. So I just sent it to a few of my friends. I had completely forgotten about it. I sent it to a few of my friends just for celebration, just to say, this is my way of celebrating. And man, friends of mine started calling me, guys like George Wallace, Earthquake put the raw, he'd send it out to some people. Earthquake put up a raw version of it, and I looked over there, and it had like 20,000 views in less than an hour. Uh, so I sent it to my good friend nephew Tommy Thomas Miles from the Steve Harvey Morning Show, and he hit me back. He was like, "Hey man, we have to do this in the studio." I was like, "What?" He's like, "Man, we have to do another version of this in the studio, and I want to be a part of it." I was like, cool, let's do it. So he said, he called me back and said that Sean McLemore wants to be a part of it. Sean McLemore is a very, is a very popular gospel singer. He's been around for a long time, done his thing. He's, as you can hear in the video, he's amazing. So Sean wanted a piece of it. We needed a fourth. If we're gonna do a comedy quartet, we needed a fourth person. So I was like, let's infuse some youth in it. And we got Phil Wade. And Phil Wade is an internet, a social media phenomenon. He's a super talented kid, really cool, but an old soul. You understand that.
Yep.
So I knew that he would be perfect for this piece. So I got there. I got there a little bit late. I got there. Tommy was sitting there with a hat on, ready to record. Sean organized the vocals. He went and sang three parts, and we sang over him. I added a little bass line. Then we got into the verses, and boy, them boys put their foot in that verse. When Sean said, as soon as I already knew the thing, when Sean said Pence is gone, man, everybody, we all just fell out because we didn't know what it would sound like as somebody singing it. But somebody singing Pence is gone, like Trump is gone, we get it. That's the foundation of it. But Pence, and then Thomas put his preacher thing on it and started calling people out. And then, just like that relay race, Phil took the stick and he brought it on home. And we spent that took us about 2 hours to do. We left the studio. We're like, hey man, put that together. There was a guy there with a camera. He took some footage. We're like, let's put it together just as a lark and put it out on the internet and see what happens. So we put it out on the internet, man. And here we are a week, 8, 9 days later, we're like at 5 million views and, countless shares. I mean, your video is popular when somebody sends it to you, not realizing that you're in it. So this
Yeah.
is some people send it to me. I'm like, bro, this is me. What do you do? This is yeah, we did this. So it's been crazy, man. You know, people have been calling from all over the country, been reaching out to me. You know, my social media stuff is like really surging, and it's just it's been incredible.
Oh, I got a hold of it from Paul Porter. He hit me to it, I think, on Sunday night,
Shout
and
out to
then I
Paul.
passed it on, and it's just been like you said, it's been taken off.
Yeah.
Hey, CJ, get in here, CJ.
Yeah, absolutely. I had a question, basically to follow up on that. Where do we go from here now? Now that Trump is gone, has picked up, this viral momentum. What's next in terms of, new material, follow up, or just, try to ride this wave? I feel like you've captured something so simple, but yet so identifiable. So many people
Right.
felt those same raw emotions of just so it didn't have to be more complicated. Like you said, it was simple. I'm a musician too, so I understand just trying to come up with lyrics and stuff like that. But you you hit the zeitgeist right at the cultural zeitgeist at the perfect time.
Right.
Obviously, Trump is on his way out the door. That helps as well too. But just to capture
Right.
that collective relief is incredible. I just wanted to add that on my question. But
Well, thanks,
what's
man.
next?
Na 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 na. Hey hey hey. Goodbye, man. You know what? We're gonna go in the studio and probably do a version of that. And I don't know. Like for this song, dude. I mean, so many things are happening. I mean, there's been whispers of everything from us performing at the inauguration to late night television appearances. So so I don't know. Like we're gonna squeeze all the juice that we can out of this before we actually move on to something. We thought about trying to do a song to about the Georgia elections, just to kind of help with that and be a part of that movement. But as it stands now, as a musician, like if you try to force it, it ain't gonna be right. It doesn't happen organically. And so I've been on the piano just messing with melodies and stuff and trying to figure out stuff, but I really don't know. I think that in terms of the iceberg, we're at the tip of it. I'd love to talk to people about it because this is just isn't a song for me. Like as a comedian, I've been leading this discussion for the last 4 years. So hopefully people will dig deeper, and hopefully people won't go, okay, this is this, but what's after that? I mean, which is a legitimate question, but hopefully people will want to dig deeper into our perspectives in terms of what it means to us. And just because what's weird is, and you can understand this, CJ, is like when I checked out my YouTube analytics, when I saw the people that were watching it, it was all middle-aged people. It was middle-aged people to like senior citizens. Like the median age was like 48-ish. Now, of course, we had some people, younger people, to do it, but it really spiked like with older people on Thanksgiving. So I'm based on those analytics. Those people want to hear something. So I will do something like another traditional kind of gospel something, but I just don't know what that is yet.
That's really interesting. I think I do have some a theory on your demographics on why they lean so like on the older to middle age to older demographics, because I think the younger generation, as much as we also hate Donald Trump, let's not get it twisted. Like ain't
Right.
nobody is a fan of Trump, but they're also more frustrated, as we kind of discussed earlier today off camera, about the neoliberalism and some of the other aspects that brought us Trump. So I think the younger generation is not as much focus on Trump. Yes, we're also relieved Trump is gone, but a lot of us in our generation are also nearly or almost as equally as worried about what's going on in the Biden, as
Right.
well going forward. So
Of
it's
course.
not the same level of relief, I guess we're feeling, even though I think it is rightful relief. Like I think you hit it on the head, and I don't think it's anybody should take fault in taking joy in Donald Trump getting out of the White House. I think that's
Right.
everyone should take a moment to put their differences aside and enjoy that, which is why I think your song is a bop for that.
Right, right. But you know what, TJ? War is for young men, and for old men, we counsel, you know? So you guys on the front lines, man, you guys are out there doing it. I don't think that we could have succeeded if it had not been for you guys. And so you guys have to continue to put the heat on this administration to keep reminding them, hey man, you guys made promises for our vote. We checked you on it. We told you that we felt like we were being taken advantage of. You made us certain promises, so we're gonna need you to deliver on that. So yeah, you're right, man. Let's not let that get into lost in translation. We're not so happy about Trump being gone until we're not looking forward to the future and making sure that the Democratic Party represents us in a way that we're comfortable with.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the only concern. I think the main concern of our generation, and there's a term that's been thrown around on like, left Twitter, is a lot of people are going back to brunch. Now that, Trump is gone, they're the liberal, they feel like all the problems are gone. So it's very
Right.
refreshing to see, the generation before us and, really acknowledge that. And that's what gives us hope that we're not doing it all on our own. Like I said, we're on the front lines, but it's really hard without any support when we don't hold those
Right.
positions in government, when it's not young progressives aren't all through Congress. They're not in the Senate,
Right.
so we're
Right.
fighting for
Right.
scraps, and it is very encouraging to have some backup.
Oh, that's great, man. Yes, sir. Hey, well, you know what? I don't know what this next song is going to be, but it will have a progressive tint to it because that's pretty much who I am. I'm on the cusp of traditional liberalism and progressivism, but I lean more towards being progressive because you guys are driving the car right now. We're in the back seat now. We still do some backseat driving, but hey, man, you guys got to have your thumbs firmly planted on the pulse of who we should be as a country. I want you to be comfortable. Like me and your dad, we've made it through. Like, we are over the hump. But hey, man, there's still a lot of work to do for this coming generation. And however we can contribute to it, like if this drives traffic to my page or anything that I have to say, when I'm on stage, trust me, man, I am all about it.
Yeah,
Well,
I did my research.
that brings me to my next question when you're on stage,
Yeah.
because I've listened to some of your stuff, and I want to just ask two things, and then kind of roll into your life as a comedian. But where were you born and raised? And then talk to us about life as a comedian.
Born and raised in Houston, Texas. Adopted, and I was an orphan until I was 3. Grew up with two in a very religious household. I was super insulated from everything. I mean, we grew up in the hood, but my parents had the nice house in the hood. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like inside the door, everything is cool, gospel music, Sam Cooke, and whatever. But as soon as I walk outside, it's unmitigated chaos because it's the hood. We had a new next door neighbor, every year for pretty much my entire childhood. Um, but life as a comedian, as it extends from that, I think it helps that I grew up the way I did because, and the thing is, this is the part of the narrative or the conversation that I have to work on being able to articulate better because I hate like giving white people credit for like my growth, but when it comes to like coming from a majority Black community. And because the only thing that we heard about white people was bad stuff when I was a kid. Like you didn't know, there's the white man this, the white man that. But when I went to university, went to college, University of Houston, then I was turned on to all these new experiences and to all these new people. And when this dude named Emil Stafford wanted to be my friend, I wondered like, what's the agenda? Like, why do you want to be my friend? Just because I don't know that I thought that he was so much better than me that I was unworthy of his friendship, or I didn't think that I was good enough to be his friend. But once I kind of acclimated to that, then everything just sort of turned around. And that whole, the dichotomy that exists like between my upbringing and my sort of mainstream lifestyle, like after I left home, like contributed to who I am as a comedian. Like I don't want to be on stage talking about government cheese and how bad and Black people got bad credit and that sort of stuff. Every time I'm on stage, man, I want to put Black people in a position of power, and I don't have to disparage any other communities to do that because we have enough stuff to brag on, man. You know, so that development, I mean, those experiences, and plus my experience as a police officer, those experiences play crucial now to who I am as an entertainer.
Okay, that's great. CJ? You're on mute, CJ.
Sorry. Yeah. To follow up on that, you said your career as a police. Could you elaborate a little bit more on that, or how that had an effect on your comedy?
So when I was in college, man, my third year in college, I was broke, man. My parents both had debilitating injuries, and the police academy came through my college, and they were recruiting. And this one dude pulled me to the side. This one black recruiter pulled me to the side and said, "Hey, man, we don't really have a whole lot of black people, and we need people like you to start off early to be a part of this." And I didn't really want to do it, but at the time I did the numbers. I was going to be 20 years old, making $31,000 a year, which is probably more than my father made in a decade. But I was like, I want to do this to gain this experience and whatever. So I went to the police academy, learned about laws, which is super important, just so I could know like different things. Like, when confronted with police officers, I would know how to handle myself even outside of the job that I was about to go into. I wanted to take this information also and share it in my community and let people know, hey man, these are the laws. This is what it is. But the way that sort of helped me in my comedy career is that I learned how to go in and control a situation. Like, there's not an audience that I'm afraid of, and I'm not afraid to exert my authority on any group of people that I'm in front of, because I did it for 4 or 5 years, as a cop.
Makes a lot of sense. Yeah, like the
Yeah.
stage fright. What's that
Yeah, the
mean?
stage fright, the hecklers and all that, and I can, I gotta, somebody asked me what is going to be my New Year's resolution, and I just have to improve my pop-off game, because, I've always been like really reactive, especially when it comes to these audiences. And you might have heard a little bit of it with the thing that I sent you guys, but having being that authoritative, like in front of people, I feel like it's grossly disrespectful when somebody ignores me. Or maybe I'm a narcissist. I have no idea, but I'm just not having it.
Man, this whole thing, I was curious when I was watching you and listening to you on stage. I thought I heard, not thought, I heard certain influences, but I want to know who are some of your influences in comedy?
The traditional influences. See, it's a difficult question. Like, comedians, they go to the Richard Pryor, but you never ask why. Like, just in terms of the power that Richard Pryor, like I don't know if you're a basketball fan, but
Yep.
Steve Kerr and Steph Curry and those guys, they kind of coined the phrase, like, they need to put more force. Like, the force is this thing, like they can create their own momentum. And I feel like that's how Pryor was. And like, I've never been like a person who laughed a lot to Pryor, but I'm a fan of his because I study him and I see like the force that he operates with. Like, everybody's compelled. Like, he told these stories about his life and whatever, but I still can't help but to wonder if he had a different upbringing and he was that same comedian, if people would still consider him one of the best. Because people love it. People love stories about how you are somehow better than somebody else. Like, like, he grew up in this crappy environment. His mother was a prostitute and all this. But if it hadn't been him growing up in this toxic environment, would people like really consider him one of the best to do it ever? I still think he would be, but I think that other people like him so much because it makes them feel better about themselves. And a lot of that had to do with Black comedy in general. Like, people, like, when white people would watch BET and would watch Def Jam, they loved it so much, man, because they could laugh and they felt so much better about themselves. Oh my God, we have it so much better than these people. And they don't seem to mind because they're laughing at the fact that there's no father in the home. They're laughing at the fact that, the cousin is in jail and all this. So, having said that, my biggest influence was probably Dave Chappelle. And even though Chappelle and I have been doing it around the same time, but the thing is like, even though Pryor was information based, I mean, it was personal information. It's just all this tragic stuff that happened to him. It's basically the stuff that he's known for. Whereas Chappelle takes general information. He takes general knowledge, he'll turn you on to it, and then he'll apply this clever twist at the end, you know. And so I think that, you know, Pryor is going to be always Pryor, but I think that Chappelle is more of the modern day Mark Twain. Like, we have to be like conscious orators, like when we're on stage, but we have to be what is it? We have to be unreliable when it comes to what people expect from us. Like, because as a comic, when I come up, people expect me to do all the black material. But when I don't, sometimes they get turned off to it. They see the black dude on the poster, and then I'm not doing what they expect me to do. And then, you know, it gets weird. But I've always been a fan of people, man, that information-based comedians. George Carlin, there was a guy, the musical guy, Victor Borga.
Oh yeah,
Uh, yeah, man, like people that had information, like Dick Gregory, Eddie Griffin, you know, those have always been my favorites. I enjoy every aspect of it. I wanted to be Eddie Murphy more than anybody else. Like, that's the dude I want to be, Eddie Murphy. But I want to be Eddie Murphy's cool with Dave Chappelle's mind.
got
Does
it.
that make sense? Yeah.
The intellectual rock star.
Well, you
Yeah.
know, I mean, I try to, you know, and I'm not even trying to be intellectual, bro. I'm just trying to break this mold, man, of what people think about when they come to see black comedians. And there's a present movement of really thoughtful black comics that aren't getting the run that some of the other black comedians are getting because they don't fit within that box. Like, you know, when you see the specials, the HBO specials and the Netflix specials, in some cases, like, you don't see a lot of like different themes. You see the same things all over again, but there's just like a different person doing it. Like, that was a special that I saw. You know, I'm not going to name it because I thought this person did a great job for what she was doing. It was a great commercial comedy special, but they just weren't saying anything. It was all just this regurgitated stuff. It was all template material that this person put themselves in, and it was just a different slant on it. But dude, what's going on? Like, what is the metaphysical incarnation of who you are as an entertainer?
Yeah, I absolutely think that's why your style is catching on and why that more authentic style, as you said, kind of the observational of society
Right.
more than anecdotal stuff. This is what happened to me. This is what I've seen. More people can relate to these societal observations. And as a comedian, you guys have this special power of truth telling in that forum as a stand up where you guys can really tell the truth in a way that not a lot of people can in that special situation. So I definitely got the Chappelle vibes from it, you know,
Yeah.
from your, because there's always substance and commentary behind the jokes.
Right. Right. Exactly. Exactly.
I'm curious, Billy D. Washington, what are you most proud of?
My kids. My son is a college graduate. He's a producer in LA. He's 24 and just financed his own car. He's saving money. He has red hair, but we ain't gonna talk about that. But he's a great kid, man. He's a great kid. My daughter, she's married with a kid. She's got a master's from NYU. You know, both of them are in the arts. He majored in acting. She majored in dance, and they are my crowning achievements. So they are, you know, what I'm most proud of.
Okay, cool. CJ.
Yeah, following up on that, just what would you define as a successful career post COVID? Because things have changed so much
Oh,
for, I know, entertainers, for
oh.
comedians, for just me as a musician who does gigs. What is a successful, you know, year or stint of, you know, look, you know, in this new world that we're living in now?
That's a great question. You know why? Because, and you know this as well as I do, like COVID is the best excuse ever to get out the business. You know, it is the best excuse, bro, because it's like, you know, if it's not happening for you and whatever, and then you quit, you know, you're always afraid of, you know, people thinking that you quit because you aren't good enough. No, now is a great time to go, hey, everything shut down. I couldn't gig no more. I've got this job that I'm proud of. Da, da, da. And then the conversation, it pivots. It's a great pivot point. So if you are an entertainer, if you are still an entertainer after COVID is over, That should be a milestone enough. But no, dude, I want to keep creating. I want to keep talking about stuff. I'm going to talk about, post Trump. I'm going to talk about Biden. I'm going to talk about the other things. I'm going to talk about some of the, I mean, I'm working on this piece right now about how people don't seem to like take COVID death seriously. It's almost like a hack death. It's almost like people think that when COVID is over, that these people are going to miraculously come to life again. It's like they don't judge the COVID death by the same metrics that they would judge other deaths. It's like, if heaven is like jail and you go up there and somebody's like, hey man, what are you in here for? And somebody's like, hey, I died of COVID. He's like, bro, that ain't nothing. I drowned. Because there is a very sort of, I think I think there's a disconnect between how these people ain't coming back. They died of COVID just like you would die in a car crash or die of cancer or whatever. But when the government is saying to us that, yeah, don't take it that seriously because only a few percentage of the people are going to die from it, what are you talking about? That's whatever that percentage is, it's going to be significant if it's one. So yeah, concepts like that and other stuff, and I can't wait to get on the other side of this stuff, man. Just to talk about what it was like for me to be within it.
Yeah, we'll come out of it for sure.
Yeah.
How can people learn more about you, and listen to your acts and your routine? I know, and download some of your stuff. Tell us about that. How can people get into the Billy D. Washington?
So I have two projects on iTunes, Spotify, whatever. On iTunes, man, I have the album I did last year, which is distributed by Warner Brother Records, entitled The Washington Post, because basically, everything that I talk about in that set uh, originated from some social media post. So it's the Washington Post, and I also have a sonic fictional podcast, and it's called Tales from the Virus, and it's an urban story about these three people that get caught in this love triangle in the middle of a pandemic and a zombie apocalypse. Sounds complex, but I'm really excited about it, especially episode 7 of Tales of the Virus, because I wrote it and I recorded it when I came back from the George Floyd protest. And it's the story of a cop, but this cop is a lot of different cops that I knew that I sort of fit into the narrative of the story. But it's Tales of the Virus. And if you don't listen to anything else on Tales of the Virus, listen to episode 7, but the episode is called Bunny. But so it's that. It's my album, and I'm coming up right now with some brand new YouTube content. I do a lot of songs, a lot of funny songs, and I'm going to do them in a live setting, and put those up. So they should be up, by the end of January.
Okay. All right. CJ?
Okay, yeah. I guess to wrap up, finally, in terms of as a musician and as a comedian, what advice would you give to somebody just getting started? I know some artists and some younger people who've always wanted to get into stand up and things like that, but they've never known, where to start. Is there any good advice you could give to any young person starting out who might want to get into the field that you're in?
My advice is always, whether it be musician, comedian, whatever, is to learn as much about it as you can before you endeavor. Like, learn as much about stand-up comedy as you can before you go on stage. Learn as much about music, whatever music you want to do. Learn as much about it, and not just what you like to hear. Learn about the theory. Learn about structure. Because comedy is a lot like music in terms of what that structure is. It's like, you have to be able to set something up. There has to be a hook and there has to be a payoff at the end. So learn as much about education. Sometimes people go, well, the one thing that I want to say about that is don't listen to people when they say funny is funny. Funny is funny is the biggest lie comedy ever told, because funny is funny isn't true. Because what's going to be funny, to you and I is not going to be funny to somebody in Croatia. It's not true. So everybody has to establish your lane and know that everybody ain't gonna laugh at your stuff. But as long as you put you out on stage. A lot of times people perform. I don't know when you gig. I don't know if you guys do covers or whatever, but like when I had a band, I hated doing covers because it wasn't me, and I felt like I'm wasting my time doing other people's stuff. And when I got all this talent, okay, I can lay a funky chord on it and change it up a little bit and whatever. But I'm doing it for them at that point. I'd never do stand-up comedy for anybody else other than me because I want to walk off. I want to walk off that stage saying that I left it all out there on the table and I did it exactly the way I want to do it. But education is key. And always, if you're creative, always do it for yourself.
That's great advice.
That is great advice. And I just want to just kind of close out by asking you, what is the best thing about being Billy D. Washington?
Right now, man, it's being on with you guys.
All right.
But secondarily, it's a good time right now, man. I'm in a great creative space. I managed to save some money, so I'm not all stressed out over coronavirus budgets. I've got this really cool little thing that people are like really responding to. So God is good, man. And that relationship has brought me through a whole lot of stuff. And if stuff was worse, if stuff was worse than that, it'd still bring me through that. So, best thing about being me right now is just, being me.
Tell people where they can find you on the internet.
Everything is at Billy D. Washington. My website is at billydwashington.com. That's Billy D. period, not Billy D-E-E, but it's just Billy D. Washington, all one word without the punctuation. All my social media is at Billy D. Washington. And that's basically it.
All right, Billy D. Washington.
And I'm very Googleable too. There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff and articles and stuff on Google about me that bro. I just some stuff that pops up and I don't even know it's there, like articles and reviews and about shows and whatever. But come see me. I mean, if you're a thoughtful Black person and whatever, and you like Black cerebral comedy, I would like to think that I'm your guy. So.
All right. Billy D. Washington, man, it has been a pleasure. We're going to put this up on our website and our social media sites. And we hope people follow you. I know they will. And this won't be our last interview with you. So we're going to be coming back. So I tell you, on behalf of CJ and BlackMenInAmerica.com, we certainly appreciate you spending time with us, and be safe.
Thanks a lot, man. God bless both of y'all and happy holidays.
All right. Same to you.
All right, brother.